Proceed to darkness.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the
American Joker, and this is Race to Power on WION The World is One. A Gen Z protest is rebrewing in Nepal, and the former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is in trouble as he faces questioning. What's causing the discomfort and revolt? We'll talk about that shortly. And Chancellor Rachel Reeves has delivered her budget after the details were released early by mistake. We dissect the budget. We begin in Nepal. Nepal's political landscape is undergoing a seismic change. Ahead of the general elections next year, leadership battles are coming to the fore across the political spectrum. The country's two largest party, CPN-UML and the Nepali Congress, are facing intense internal turmoil. The anti-corruption movement by Gen Z protesters has fueled demands for a younger and more accountable leadership. But the old guard is hesitant to make way for the new. In CPN-UML, the leadership transition has turned into a tense political battle. Ousted Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is seeking a third term as party president. Senior Vice Chair of CPN-UML, Ishwar Pokharel, is preparing to challenge him at the party's general convention in December. Pokharel is pushing to restore the two-term limit and open the doors for new leadership. Recently, Oli also announced the formation of the National Volunteer Force and filed a plea in the Supreme Court demanding the reinstatement of the House of Representatives. The House was dissolved following the Gen Z uprising in September this year. The Nepali Congress, one of the oldest and most prominent political parties in Nepal, is also at a crossroads. Its two factions are clashing over the party's general convention and control of parliamentary tickets ahead of the March's fifth elections. Party President Sher Bahadur Deoba wants to delay the convention and retain control over candidate selection, but General Secretaries Gagan Thapa and Bishwa Prakash Sharma want a special convention before the elections to assert their influence over the leadership. Now, according to party leaders, the demand for a special general convention made by 54% of elected representatives has drawn a clear line of division in the party, one which could reportedly risk a split unless a middle ground can be found. The leaders have said a direct confrontation between Deoba and the two general secretaries looms large. The party has already sent a letter signed by Deoba to the Election Commission to register the party for the March 5th as well as for the National Assembly elections. The parallel struggles in both parties are challenging Nepal's traditional political structures. Rising demands for change from younger voters and new generation leaders are testing Nepal's political landscape like never before. And for the latest, our correspondent Saloni Murarka has sent us this report from Nepal.
Nepali politics is at a critical juncture. Following the Gen Z movement in September, major political parties in Nepal are facing an intense internal struggle, balancing leadership ambitions with pressures from younger generation for a change. Over the past decade, KP Sharma Oli from CP&UML, Sher Bahadur Deoba from Nepali Congress, and Pushpa Kamal Dahal from Maoist Center have dominated power in Nepal. And now, Oli faces a challenge from his party lawmakers for the post of the president. And while Congress could risk a split if they fail to agree on the convention dates and choose a new leader. The sentiment on the streets of Nepal is that if the voters were to give these established political parties a second chance, they must first change and refresh this entrenched leadership. However, none of these leaders show any sign to step aside. Saloni Murarka for WION World is One in Kathmandu, Nepal.
There's a fresh political storm brewing in Pakistan. Imran Khan's ex-account cannot run from jail. That's the diktat from Islamabad. Political restrictions tighten as a jailed former Pakistan Prime Minister faces isolation. His party is asking tough questions as to why they're not allowed to meet or communicate with their leader. In a decisive move, the superintendent of Adiala jail told the Islamabad High Court that with authority that former Prime Minister Imran Khan's ex-account is not operated from inside the prison walls. The PTI founder remains under surveillance, denied access to all restricted devices, no mobile phones, no internet. Signal jammers blanket the prison and its perimeter, shutting down any chance of unauthorized communication. What makes the situation more complex is that attempts by PTI leaders, including Imran Khan's sisters and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa chief minister, to secure audiences with the imprisoned leader have met similar blockades. Imran's sisters have demanded an impartial probe into the brutal police assault on them and PTI supporters last week. Last night, massive protests were held outside Adiala jail for the release of the jailed PTI leader. Shia cleric and senator from Punjab, Alama Raja Abbas, also joined the protests and called on Pakistanis to unite for Imran Khan's release.
Now all the Pakistanis are uniting. It's now the responsibility of every Pakistani to raise their voice against this grave injustice. We all need to stand united. People are the real strength. Why are we being stopped from meeting?
Despite numerous efforts, access has been consistently denied, further tightening Imran Khan's political isolation. Official channels remain silent on the reasons, escalating tensions within party ranks. PTI vocally contests the restrictions, calling them draconian and accusatory, insisting that communication is vital to their political movement. Yet, government authorities stand firm, maintaining the siege on the former Prime Minister's interaction with the outside world. The 73-year-old Imran Khan has been held in custody since August 2023, charged in around 200 cases that he claims are politically motivated. This standoff sharpens the political showdown while the courtroom dramas and bail hearings continue. The fortress of Adiala jail remains tight, locking down not just a man, but the digital voice claimed to speak on his behalf. The highly awaited UK budget has been revealed by Rachel Reeves. A question-answer session is currently underway at the House of Commons. But before Reeves could even announce the budget, controversy erupted after Office for Budget Responsibility accidentally published the forecast numbers ahead of the formal announcement. Now, according to protocol, OBR releases forecasts after budget has been announced. The organisation has blamed the prior release on a technical error. The forecasts have downgraded economic growth for UK over the next few years. For 2026, growth rate forecast has been decreased from 1.9% to 1.4%. The latest growth forecast till 2030 has been downgraded to 1.5%. British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves presented the budget amid heightened anxiety and sparring protests. In her remarks, Reeves said that the budget is in line with Labour Party's manifesto and will cut cost of living for Britons.
Today's budget builds on the choices that we have made since July last year to cut NHS waiting lists, to cut the cost of living, and to cut debt and borrowing. No doubt we will face opposition again, but I have yet to see a credible or a fairer alternative plan for working people.
Here are some of the key takeaways from the budget announcement. Minimum wage will be increased by 4.1% from April 2026 onwards. New exercise duty will be levied on electronic vehicles. There is a temporary cut to petrol and diesel tax, which comes as a monetary or momentary respite. However, this provision will be short-lived. Reeves also said that she will abolish the two-child benefit cap as it has not yielded any results. The finance minister also announced mansion tax for homes that are worth more than £2 million. Tory leader Kimi Badenoch has slammed the budget announcement. The Conservative leader has called it, quote, budget littered with broken promises. Following the announcement, House of Commons is currently in session with the opposition leaders raising questions on forecast leak. Ahead of the finance minister's remarks, farmers took to the streets in London to protest. They lined up tractors to block Trafalgar Square, blaming the budget provisions for forcing farmers into bankruptcy. Our correspondent Stuart Smith is now joining us live from London. Smith, the budget has been read and has been announced. Are there protests still ongoing, and did Britain expect what Rachel Reeves presented in Parliament?
There are protests still ongoing from a variety of different groups. You mentioned the farmers, of course, which have made themselves known, having said that the agricultural policies and agricultural spending is not really at the heart of the controversy around this year's budget. There are other protesters from the left and the right of politics who believe that Rachel Reeves is making fundamental mistakes with this budget, but she says it's the fairest way to raise the much needed cash. £28 billion is the figure that she had to meet, and most of that, the vast majority of that, has come through increasing taxes, particularly income tax, which, while is not being increased, the tax bands that people will fall into have been frozen, which means as salaries rise over the next few years, around 1.7 million people will be paying more tax or paying tax at all than are at the moment. So that's the big way Chancellor is raising money. There are other ways. You mentioned the mansion tax, a tax on homes worth over £2 million, charges on the electric vehicles, depending on how far they drive, and also other smaller taxes to try and fill that black hole. But there were also announcements for new spending, more on welfare. For example, removing a cap on the number of children that you can have on universal credit for the poorest in British society, and still receive money. That used to mean that people were limited to 2 children. That cap has now been removed, which means as many children as a family has will receive those extra funds. That has been welcomed by people in the UK who are worried about poverty, and especially poverty amongst children. So it's a mixed bag of huge increases in tax, but also some new spending as well.
Smith, the opposition or the Conservative Party has dismissed this budget. Kimi Badenoch says that this budget is not constructive. I understand there are discussions or questions at the House of Commons. What usually happens at the House of Commons?
Yeah, so right now the Chancellor has given her speech unprecedentedly, as you mentioned. Most people knew what was going to be in that speech beforehand, not just through the 3 months of leaks and speculation, but then around an hour before the Chancellor was due to speak, that Office for Budget Responsibility forecast being published online by accident, according to the group, a technical error, they say, that will be investigated. But what happens now is there will be days of debate about the budget. So you've mentioned already the leader of the opposition Conservative Party is letting her feelings known. She's already called for the Chancellor to resign and says this represents the budget that has just been announced, a breach of the promise made by the Labour government not to increase taxes on working people. But many lawmakers will have a chance to put their views forwards. Of course, Labour backbenchers as well, those not in government, will also have their chance to make their feelings known, and it may not be positive for the government despite them being in their own party. So that debate continues for a few days, and then over that time, once the debate has is finished, the bill will be voted upon. But at this point, with the Labour majority so large in Parliament, that really is a technicality. But then it will be implemented in law in Parliament behind me over the next week.
All right, live from London, Stuart Smith. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you. Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's meeting with US President Donald Trump last week reportedly turned tense when both leaders discussed the possibility for Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords and normalize ties with Israel. In a report by Axios, officials of the White House told the Crown Prince that Trump expected progress on normalizing ties with Israel ahead of the meeting. During the closed-door meeting, US President Trump first raised the issue and also pressurized the Saudi Crown Prince to join the Abraham Accords. At one point, the conversation turned tense, following which the Saudi Crown Prince pushed back. Trump was reportedly disappointed with Mohammed bin Salman's response. The report said that bin Salman explained to Trump that he wants to normalize ties with Israel, but he cannot do it now. The Crown Prince said that the Saudi society is not ready for such a move. He also added that the public opinion has been largely anti-Israel in the aftermath of the Gaza war. Now, according to US official quoted in the Axios report, bin Salman wanted Israel to agree to an irreversible, credible and time-bound path for a Palestinian state in return for a peace deal with Saudi Arabia. The US official said that the Crown Prince never said no to normalization but deferred it, saying the doors are open for doing it later. However, the official added that the two-state solution is an issue, as Israel opposes any path for a Palestinian state. During the meeting, Trump told bin Salman that Saudi Arabia will get the same advanced model of the F-35 fighter jets that Israel has. However, Axios revealed that Saudi Arabia will be getting a downgraded version of the jets. Let's talk to our correspondent now, Susan Teherani. She's now joining us live from New York. Susan, it's good to see you. Days after the Crown Prince was accorded the, official state response and honor by President Trump, now this has been revealed that their discussion was very tense.
Yeah, and not surprisingly, not only considering the fact that bin Salman said that although the Gaza war is over in principle because of President Trump's peace plan, but just because it's so close to the Gaza war and the public opinion in Saudi Arabia is just simply not going to accept normalization of ties right now. And he has to look at his national interests when making a decision like this. Also, he talked about how the condition would be a Palestinian statehood. Now, while we know that Israel doesn't agree to that, it's very important to note that MBS is Saudi Arabia's de facto leader. However, his father, the king, is really the main ruler of Saudi Arabia right now, and he is very, very stern on the issue of Palestine when it comes to normalizing ties with Israel. He's not just necessarily a fan. Nonetheless, bin Salman apparently said that he's not saying no, he's just saying not now. This was predicted. There is this prediction, and many believe that during this trip, it was a no-go for Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accord, although it would have been a big announcement, but that they believe that sometime during Trump's second presidency, Saudi Arabia will ultimately come around and join the Abraham Accord. So it'll be interesting to watch and see, what direction this takes, because Saudi Arabia sort of is that de facto leader of the Middle East. If Saudi Arabia normalizes ties with Israel, then it'll pave the way for a lot of countries who have been hesitant until now to join the Abraham Accord as well.
Indeed, let's wait and see. It's good to see you, Susan Teherani. She's our correspondent in New York. Thank you. Let's move on now. And women across the world participated in protests and marches demanding an end to femicide and gender-based violence. The rallies mark United Nations designated International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. In Mexico, the slogan 10 women per day has become the heart of this movement. Women are calling for sweeping reforms and justice in a country that has skyrocketing cases of crimes against women. In 2024 alone, Mexican authorities registered 852 femicides and 3,739 female homicides.
This march is to remind the state, to remind the authorities that our daughters are not just numbers as they see them. Our daughters were women, girls, teenagers who had life projects, who had dreams, who had an entire life ahead of them. And unfortunately, due to the authorities' omission, they have allowed femicides to advance more and more and increase their violence against us women.
Thousands of protesters also gathered in Istanbul, chanting names of victims of gender-based violence. Under heavy police presence, women called for strict policies to curtail crimes against women. In Turkey, over 50% of women murders remain unsolved to date.
Being a woman in Turkey is difficult and getting harder. Femicides are now like a spectacle. Men are killing women on the streets, in public squares, at home. Men who have been issued restraining orders have weapons in their hands.
Similar scenes unfolded in Ecuador's capital as the country also battles rising rate of femicide. Between 1st of January and 15th of November this year, there have been 349 violent deaths of women. The data averages to one murder every 22 hours in Ecuador. In France, activists and protesters unfurled a 20-meter banner with names of 1,183 female victims listed on it. Data from France also shows a worrying rise in cases of femicides and gender-based violence. A feminist group has demanded an inquiry into institutional failures to curb crime against women.
Every 7 hours, a man kills or attempts to kill his partner or ex-partner. The numbers are skyrocketing. And in response, we have almost no action from our successive governments under Emmanuel Macron, even though he had declared that the fight against violence towards women would be the great cause of his term.
Demonstrators took to the streets in Spain's capital. Women chanted slogans and sang along drum beats. In 2025 so far, 38 women have been killed in Spain by their partners or former partners. Hundreds of people gathered outside Japan's Prime Minister's office to protest Takaichi's recent remarks on Taiwan. The protesters held no war placards and urged Takaichi to withdraw her remarks.
Takaichi, making such foolish remarks and even proposing to double defense expenditure, is tantamount to preparing for war, regardless what she thinks. As citizens, we must oppose such actions.
After the defeat and surrender in World War II, Japan established the Article 9 of its constitution. Now, the Japanese government is trying to break the pacifist constitution, which we will never allow. For the Asian people, the Japanese government has done is blurring its responsibility for war and once again embarking on the path of war after the surrender. I think this is totally wrong.
And finally, on Race to Power, lights went out during an Australian Parliament sitting. Health Minister Mark Butler began answering a question when the lights went out. Some members of the opposition jeered the government and raised their phones with the torches on to bring some light to the chamber. Thank you for watching.
Order. In accordance with standing.
Australians have saved $1.9 billion at the pharmacy counter because of our cheaper medicines measures. Pensioners...
Order. No. Members on my left.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.